and welcome to our Scholars Talk. So first off, let's a round of introductions. My name is Simret. I'll be a moderator for tonight, and we'll also introduce our scholars as we go through each one of their experiences. But we'd just like to introduce a bit about BIMBING first, the organizer of today's series. So BIMBING is a pillar that is focused on providing ideas to your education career plan. Yeah, we're a guidance group, or you can call us as a group of volunteers who have a passion to guide our peers, our seniors and our juniors towards a continuous education, right, through every stage in life, whether it's in primary, secondary school, post SPM, college, and also up to your early mid-career and to retirement. So we are currently made up of a group of young Malaysian professionals. All of us come from very different backgrounds, from law, medicine, teaching, sciences, and also the arts. And we look to contribute to society through this initiative. It's just our way of, giving back, of doing and hoping to make the world a slightly better place. So to break down a bit what exactly it is we do, can we move on to the next page? Yeah. So, all right. Okay. So we do, like we say, education and career guidance. And today we're going to start with, of course, our part 3 of our post-SPM series that we have been running for the past few weeks. And if this is the first time you've joined us, welcome. So today our first speaker and your first scholar is Chua. So Chua is a Yayasan Tenaga National Scholar, and he's currently an A-level student at KYUM. So Chua is also I think he also one of the passionate individuals who's been helping us here at BIMBING, and he's also involved with the group that has been organizing this post-SPM series. So if you are ready, Chua, maybe you can take it away and tell us about how you came to be a Yayasan Tenaga National Scholar and how everybody here today who would like to apply and is interested, they can follow in those footsteps. Hello, Chua.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Chua.
Okay, sorry, I just got disconnected.
No worries.
Okay. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Chua Shang and I'm from Kedah. I took my SPM and I graduated from my secondary school in 2019. I was a science stream student and I took 10 subjects. My additional subject is Bahasa Cina, and I was fortunate enough to get 10 A+ for my SPM. The next year, which is the year of 2020, I applied for Yayasan Tenaga Nasional, and I was also lucky enough to become one of the scholars in the same year. So before I begin my sharing session, I would like to make a disclaimer. I'm not the official advisor of YTN. What I will be sharing later is solely based on my personal experience. And also the requirements and the selection process of YTN scholarship might differ this year. So before you apply for Yayasan Tenaga Nasional, do go to their website and check the requirements. So the first part, I will be talking about the courses, the countries, the pre-U programs, and also the preparatory college they offer. As you can see on the screen here, they offer data science and analytics, electrical power engineering, and also accounting. They actually have a list of options. They also offer civil engineering, chemical engineering, but at the end of the day, they only accept they only accept candidates who applied for these 3 courses. As for countries, you can choose to go to the United Kingdom, USA, Australia, or New Zealand. And pre-U programs, you will do your pre-U programs according to the countries you choose to go. and that include A-levels, IB, International Baccalaureate, SACE, Southern Australian Education Certificate of Education, or you can call it AUSMAT, Australian Matriculation, PPOU, which stands for Preparatory Program for Overseas University, and also Foundation Program. And they will send you to college. They will send you to college Yayasan UEM, Intech Mara, Uni10. Uni10 stands for University Tenaga Nasional, MCKK Malay College Kuala Kangsar, and also Southampton, Malaysia. YTN used to offer Canada, but last year they removed it for some reasons. So as you can see on the next slide, if you choose to go to UK, you will have to do either A-levels or IB, and they will send you to Intech Mara, College Yayasan UEM, and MCKK. And for IB and A-levels, it will be a 2 years program, and the minimum requirement for this, for you to start your degree in the United Kingdom, is you have to get at least AB for your A-levels and 35 or more than 35 units in IB. If you want to go to Australia, if you choose to go to Australia, you will have to do AUSMAT at Intech Mara, and you have to score at least 85 out of 100%. And if you're going to New Zealand or USA, you will do preparatory program for overseas university at Uni10 itself, and you have to get at least 3.33 for your CGPA. And if you're doing a twinning program at Southampton, Malaysia, you will spend the first year of your foundation program here in Malaysia and the next 2 years in Southampton. And as you can see here, the minimum requirement is 50 over 100, and you spend 2 years in the UK. So after all this basic description of the scholarship itself, I'll be talking about the application and the selection process of Yayasan Tenaga Nasional. So as compared to other scholarship interviews, I would say YTN scholarship interviews selection process is relatively easier than other scholarship selection process, because we only have 3 stages. And the first stage is the application stage, where you have to submit all your personal information, your SPM results, and also your co-curricular achievements. And you have to send in your photocopies of IC, your parents' payslips, and etc. The application will be open normally 1 week or 2 weeks after you have received your SPM results. So my tips here is that I think it's better for you to prepare and arrange all your certificates prior to the commencement of the application process. Because one thing you should know about this stage is that the amount of certificates you can submit is actually limited. So do take some time to sort out which certificates you want to submit, which achievements are related to your desired course. Let's say I applied for data science, I might be submitting achievements that are related to data science, such as STEM competitions, innovation competitions, etc. So after the application stage, some candidates will be rejected, some candidates will be eliminated, and some will get into stage 2, which is the self-introduction video. You have to record the self-introduction video, which is roughly about 3 minutes, not less than 3 minutes and not more than 4 minutes. And in that video, you have to talk about yourself, and you have to talk about why do you want to study this subject, and why do you think you deserve this scholarship. Because you only have 3 minutes, so time management is really the key. It's not possible for you to cram every single info in that video because you only have 3 minutes. So my suggestion is that you prepare a script. Write down what you want to talk about in that video. And I wouldn't recommend you to speak spontaneously, because you're most likely to turn out to be very awkward, or there will be long pauses in your video. So it's better for you to prepare a script and just get straight to the point. Don't talk about this, talk about that. Don't spend time on very trivial stuff and unnecessary details. Also, they will also ask you to make the video as creative as possible. So what I did was I added some animations, and also I edited the video so that the video seems more smoother. So if you have video editing software or applications, I would strongly recommend you to go and edit the video before you submit the video, because you will appear to be more prepared than the others. So these are the two initial stages. And the last stage, which is the third stage, will be the online interview. And here is when things get intense. At this stage, there will be 3 interviewers interviewing you, 3 versus 1. And typically, a normal interview will last between 30 to 40 minutes. Maybe you think that, wow, 30 and 40 minutes seems quite long, but trust me, time flies. The whole interview will just get by very quickly, and you won't even notice how time flies. So the common questions they will ask is, do you know anything about TNB? How would you contribute to our company? And what is leadership to you? And based on your answers, they will ask you follow-up questions. And because they have watched your self-introduction video, they already have rough ideas of who you are and what is your background. So they want to know more about you and more about your personality. So the questions they ask, I would say, are tailor-made instead of preset. They will ask you questions based on what you talked about in that self-introduction video. For example, if you say that you are a head prefect of in your secondary school, then they will ask you, what is leadership to you? And if you have taken part in a lot of extracurriculum activities in your secondary school, they will ask you, what is time management to you, and how did you manage your time back to when you were in your secondary school? The questions can be quite personal. And one thing you should know about YTN scholarship interviews is that the interviews, they're quite personal. They will ask you very personal questions. They will ask you tailor-made questions. So my tips here is, the first tip that I would give to you is do a lot of background research. Background research is definitely a must before you do an interview, because they will ask you questions like, what do you know about TNB? What do you know about YTN? So you will have to talk about what you know about their company. So do spend some time in knowing and understanding their missions, their visions, and their ultimate goals. What they're trying to do what they want to do in the next 5 or 10 years. For example, Tenaga Nasional, TNB, wants to build the first nuclear power plant in Malaysia by the year of 2025. So these are some of the information that I think you should know, because you're applying for this scholarship. So you don't have to know everything about the company, but you have to know at least the fundamentals. And the second tip is to be able to show your passion. Show them that you're really interested in the course that you're applying for, because they wouldn't want to invest thousands and hundreds and thousands of ringgit in someone who is not interested in their desired courses, right? So do show your passion. Talk about the subjects that you want to apply for. For example, I applied for data science and analytics. So I told them about what is data science. Data science is the combination of computer science and also statistics, mathematics. I talked a lot about data science and what does a data scientist do. Show them that you really understand the fundamentals of the subject. They don't expect you to speak, they don't expect you to like have all this data science, knowledge of data science, but just know the fundamentals and talk about it. Talk about why are you interested in that course? Why are you interested in that subject? For example, I told them that I'm very interested in mathematics, and I also do some programming and coding. So I think data science is really the subject for me, and I would really enjoy studying data science as my degree. And the third tips that I would give is to be genuine, be truthful. It's never wrong to sophisticate your achievements or kind of like package yourself a little bit, but don't do it to an extent where you have to lie or you have to fake it. You have to fake your achievements. Because as I've mentioned earlier, YTN scholarship interviews, they will ask you, the interviewers will ask you quite personal questions. So it's very easy to get exposed if you fake your achievements or if you over exaggerate your achievements, because they'll ask you about your experience, they'll ask you to share your personal stories. So if you over exaggerate your achievements, it's very easy for you to get panicked and get exposed. So I would recommend everyone to be honest about yourselves and let your personality carry you through the interview, because everyone is unique and you might be someone that. So the fourth tip I would give is to elaborate on your skills and your experiences. A question that people always ask is, will I still stand a chance if I hardly take part in any extracurricular activities back to when you were in your secondary school? Will you still stand a chance to win the scholarship? Well, the answer is yes, you still have the chance to secure the scholarship. Although it is important to have some achievements in extracurricular activities, but what's more important is that the skills and the experience you have. Let's say you are just a leader of a group project in your secondary school and that's all you have. It's okay, that's good enough. When they ask you about leadership, you can talk about your personal stories, you can share your personal stories and talk about the soft skills you have picked up when you are the leader of the group project. And maybe you can talk about, you learn how to communicate with your teachers and also with your teammates in a better manner. And also you learn how to overcome conflicts between your team members. So these are the skills and experience they expect you to share. Instead of like bragging about your achievements, I think it's better for you to talk about the skills and experiences you have picked up when you are in your secondary school. You can say that you become a better leader or you become a better student after participating in some small activities. So your skills and your experiences are really important. Is to be very bold, is to be bold. When during the interviews, they will ask you about yourself. So be bold, talk about your future plans, talk about your career plan, talk about your ultimate goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? Don't talk about trivial stuff like what's your favorite food or what's your favorite places to visit during your holidays. Those information do not matter and they're not important. So focus on things that will help you to shine. Talk about your future plannings, like once you have graduated from university, what you plan to do. Be bold. Be bold about yourself and berpandangan jauh. Yeah. And in my personal experience, during this interview, they asked me to do a room tour, which is quite weird and which is quite shocking as well. But they asked me to do a room tour. So luckily I cleaned up my room before the interview. So yeah, every person has different experience. So last but not least, I will be talking about the perks and the cons of becoming a YTN scholar. So as you can see here on the screen, being a YTN scholar, I think is less stressful than the other scholars because our minimum requirements are lower. As I've mentioned earlier, we only have to get AAB for our A levels in order to be able to be qualified to study overseas. So I would say it's it's less stressful, but you still have to work hard when you're studying. You still have to work hard. And the second perk is that you will have a closer relationship between you and your officers, between you and your sponsor bodies, because once you get selected to become a YTN scholar, you will have to attend an orientation program. So during that orientation program, you will build a stronger bond with other fellow scholars and also your officers. You will know your officers, you will know their names, and you can always reach out to them whenever you have problems, whether the problems are about your study or about your school life. You can always ask them, and they're always very willing to answer your questions. They are very friendly and they're very approachable. But when it comes to the cons of securing a YTN scholarship, is that you have to serve a 7-year bond. It's quite long as compared to other scholarships, because other scholarships, maybe you just have to serve like 5 years or 4 years, but for YTN scholars, you have to serve a 7-year bond. And our allowances are slightly lower than other scholarships. And as you can see here, for college that provide accommodation and meals, you receive 150 ringgit per month. For example, KYUEM, College Yayasan UEM, the college that I'm studying at right now, I receive 150 ringgit per month. As for those colleges who provide accommodation but not meals, you receive 450 ringgit per month. And if your college does not offer these two, you receive 800 ringgit per month. And the general requirements as of 2020 is you have to get at least 8 A's in your SPM. And you also have to be active in your co-curricular activities and possess strong personality and leadership qualities. And the last one is no other sibling currently receiving scholarship from YTN. So these are basically the general requirements if you want to apply for YTN scholarship. So the last slide, as you can see, there are some pictures. These are the pictures we took when we were in the orientation program. It's really fun. And during the orientation program, they will teach you about formal dress code, how to dress formally and how to dress semi-formally and also casually during different occasions. And on the third day of the orientation program, you will have a majlis penganugerahan, and you will receive your sijil. You have to wear suits and ties. And during the orientation program, they will also teach you about what values does TNB promote, and what is it to become a YTN scholar. So overall, it was a really fun experience, and our relationships with other scholars and also with our officers are really strong because of this orientation program. So at the end, as of 2020, my batch, only 20 students were selected out of I think 8,000 students who applied for YTN scholarship. Only 20 students were selected for overseas scholarship, and four of data science and analytics, 2 for accounting, and 16 for electrical power engineering. And as for local scholarships, there are 100 students who got scholarships for local universities. They will be studying at Uni 10 University Tenaga Nasional. It's a university under TNB itself. So I think that's the end of my presentation. And I've also written an article about the application of YTN scholarship. It's very detailed, and later BIMBING will share the article with you through emails. So you can always refer to that article if you have any problems, and you can also contact BIMBING for more info, or you can come to me. So I think that's all for me. Thank you.
All right.
I'll be answering the questions at the end of the session after all these presentations. So thank you.
Thanks, Chua, for that very insightful and very detailed, session on the YTN scholarship. So yeah, I think we can all take away a few good pointers there, right? Be organized, be succinct, creativity, be honest, focus on soft skills, give real examples, and wear pants before they ask you to do a room tour. So thank you for that. And yes, we will take questions later. Yes, and just before we move on, we'd just like to reiterate that these are personal experiences of these scholars. They will not, of course, represent 100% maybe what the requirements are this year. Of course, things have changed from last year, as we all know. So do not take this completely on its truth. Do take it with a pinch of salt. As we move on to our second speaker, his name is Meharvan Singh. He's 19 this year. He's a 2019 SPM leaver, a JPA program lepasan SPM dalam negara scholar. He's currently doing his foundation in arts in Sunway College, KL, and will be pursuing his degree in accounting and finance. So hi, Meharvan, do you want to take the floor?
Okay, hi everyone. So as introduced, my name is Meharvan Singh, and I was a SPM 2019 leaver, and I had got 9A plus. I took 11 subjects. I got 9A plus and 2A, and I'll jump straight to our slides. So I'll be talking about the JPA scholarship today. So briefly, we all know we have heard about the JPA scholarship. It's quite a popular scholarship in Malaysia. However, not everyone can get the scholarship because mainly is the strict requirements that you have to have 9A plus before applying for the scholarship. So under GPA scholarship, there are three types of fundings. One is Program Penajaan Nasional, or also known as the PPN. The second is the Program Khas Jepun, Korea, Perancis, and German, also known as JKPJ. And the third one, which I am currently under, which is the Program Khas Lepasan Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia dalam Negara. So before we jump into all this, there's one terminology that we have to correct ourselves. We often call GPA as a scholarship, but the truth is GPA is actually a PBU, Pinjaman Boleh Ubah, or in English, convertible loan. So what does it mean by PBU or convertible loan is that GPA, which is under the government, will provide money to you, to pursue your pre-university and degree. And after you have finished your degree, you have to pay back or repay back the money. We'll jump into that later on. Before that, I'll introduce the three programs. So under PPN, the requirements are you have to get 90 plus in SPM, including Bahasa Melayu and moral and Pendidikan Moral or Pendidikan Islam for those who are Muslim students. And under Program Penajaan Nasional, the government will fund you to go and pursue your degree in the United States of America or United Kingdom, and the funding will be from your pre-university to degree. And as you can see here at the arrow there, these are the list of subjects or fields sponsored by JPA: nanotechnology, neurotechnology, digital technology, biological science, computer science, economics and econometrics, geology, environment, earth and marine sciences, aerospace engineering, physics, mathematics, biology, and chemistry. Okay, and for the second program which is provided in the JPA is Program Khas Jepun, Korea, Perancis, German, JKPJ. So under this scholarship, JPA sends students to specific countries to pursue specific fields of study. So as you can see here, for engineering subjects, you can pursue your education to Japan, South Korea, France, or Germany. For science and technology, you can pursue your education to South Korea, Germany, China. For social science, you only have one option, which is France. And this program again is sponsored from pre-U to diploma or degree, depending on where you do your further education and what university you're studying in. And the general requirement is SPM 90 plus, no specific subject, but you have to pass your Bahasa Melayu and Sejarah. And the third program provided is the program khas selepasan Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia dalam negara. So this program is actually quite new. The first year they have implemented is during my batch, the SPM 2019 Living. Before that, the program was slightly different. And in this project, they sponsor any students who got the requirement to be sponsored is you have to get 90 plus. But does not matter any subjects as long as 90 plus, and obviously you have to pass your BM in Sejarah. And you are allowed to pursue any course for your degree anywhere, but it has to be locally. So one way to know which university and your degree course which will be recognized by GPA is make sure that the program has been recognized by MQA, the Malaysian Qualification Agency. So you can either go to MQA's website, or they even have a Play Store, Google Play Store app. I'm not sure about Apple Play Store, Apple Store, but you can download it on Google Play Store. There's an MQA app, and you can simply search under universities and the courses which are recognized by MQA. So these courses, this program will sponsor you from your pre-U to degree, and generally you can study almost any field of study. But as you can see here, this in the box bottom there, under public university, you are not allowed to pursue education, aviation, nursing, semi-medical, professional course such as ACCA, ICAEW, CIMA, and also training program. Training program means that program where you study half of the duration in Malaysia and the other half in another country. So JP will only sponsor if your whole degree program will be in Malaysia, including your pre-university. And for under the private institutions, you also can you are able to pursue medical, which includes studying medicine, pharmacy, dentistry, engineering, science and technology, and also social science. So basically, when we talk about GPA, there are a few things you need to prepare yourself with first, so that you are not taken aback. One of it is you need to be ready with a lot of documents. I think this goes across all scholarships also. When the applications are coming, when you have to submit your documents, be sure to prepare yourself with a photocopy of your IC, a photocopy of your parents' pay statement, the latest ones, photocopy of your certificates in school or your Sijil Benti Sekolah if you have gotten it, your SPM certificate, and try to get it digitalized, because now all the applications are going online and you wouldn't need to have a hard copy. Just scan your documents, and also have two copies. One is disahkan and one is not disahkan. So disahkan is basically you get a professional from the government sector or lawyers or politicians, elected politicians, to sahkan your photocopy of your IC or your CJIL, so that to show that your documents are legitimate. Second thing is, once you are preparing to apply for GPA scholarship, or once you have already applied, constantly check your email. Every morning, the moment you open your laptop or your computer, the first thing you should do is open your email and check for any new emails. If you haven't received, just wait for it, because most of the times the communication method is using emails. Okay, and another place where you have to be vigilant about is the GPA website, which you can see here, esilav2.jpa.gov.my. For those who have registered, we'll be sending the slides in email, so you don't need to really worry about the link. You can get it in the slides. And the third thing is be patient when communicating with GPA through email and phone. Those who have applied for GPA scholarship, they will very well know that it's sometimes hard to get to the headquarters of GPA in KL, in Putrajaya. They have few office numbers, but because they are government agency and those applying for GPAs are in big numbers, so sometimes you have to keep calling them hour by hour, day by day. Sometimes even it takes 1 week maybe for them to actually pick up your call. But one thing you should know is you should never give up easily, because you should also understand that in a government agency, sometimes they're short-staffed and they really can't attend to your calls. And this applies same to your email. If you feel that they haven't replied your email in 1 day and you're scared that they haven't really received your email, keep sending emails daily or 2 times a day until they have acknowledged receiving your email. This is mostly after you have obtained your interview and you're supposed to send in your documents to finalize the scholarship deal. So there's another link here, and that link is where you can get the basic information on what is sponsored for each program and what are the general requirements. So now I'll move on to the perks and cons of applying for GPA scholarship. So the perks are first of all, they'll sponsor you from pre-U to degree. For pre-U, they will cover your accommodation fees if you are studying in the hostel provided by your college or university. And the accommodation that they will cover is a twin sharing bedroom, and that will be covered by GP. If you refuse to stay in the accommodations, I would say it's your loss, because GP won't sponsor you and you have to pay on your own in your private accommodation or at your home. If you want to upgrade your room to a single room also, you either will have to top up the fees or GPA will not sponsor you at all. On top of accommodation, you will receive a 430 ringgit per month for your monthly allowance for food and also your general expenses. But the allowances you will receive 5 monthly. So you won't receive immediately in a lump sum, but you will receive every 5 months. And therefore, when you are applying for scholarship for GPA, you will have to open bank account. But don't worry, because GPA will assist you and they'll open up for you together with you. Mostly, you'll open a Bank Islam account. But if you're going overseas, then they will probably open a CIMB account for you. And for your degree, you'll be given allowance 9,000 to 10,000 per year. But this again depends on what field of study you're doing. Are you doing science? Are you doing arts? Are you doing engineering? And also applies to whether you're studying in a private U or public U, and also whether you are studying in a city area like in KL, Selangor, or you're studying in more rural areas, of city areas. However, for degree, your rent won't be covered, and therefore you will have to pay for your accommodations yourself. So you can still stay in the university accommodations, but not a single cent will be covered. You have to either take it out from your yearly allowance, or you have to fund yourself. So the cons of GPA scholarship, I wouldn't really call it cons, but the slightly down perks of it is that it's, as I mentioned, it's not a scholarship. It's a convertible loan, or in DM it's called Pinjaman Boleh Ubah, PBU. And therefore, to cover up back for the funding the government has given to you, you have to work to pay it off, or you have to pay back the amount sponsored. So to clarify this, since GP is a government institution, they hope that after you finish your degree, you come back to them and you serve the government. So when you serve the government for a certain duration of time, the whole funding will be converted into scholarship and you do not need to pay back for a single cent. So how to know what's the working duration? This is a general one. Obviously, it will vary according to your university, your course, and also based on the year you're applying. But generally, if you're studying in a public U, Z study years or variable study years. So let's say you studied engineering in public U, which is around 4 years. And if you studied in public U, then you just times by one. So that means you only have to serve back in the government for 4 years. However, for private universities, like I'll be studying accounting and finance in some university. So my course is around 3 years. So 3 years, I have to times by 1.5, and therefore I have to serve for 4.5 years in the government to pay off back my funding. So some may say, what if I don't want to work with the government? What if I receive a better job offer from other companies? So GPA won't limit you to working with the government. However, if you decide to work for other companies, if you decide to work for GLCs, which is like PETRONAS, I think TNB and so on, you have to pay back 25% of your loan. So you have to pay back in installments. GPA won't threaten you to pay back in lump sum, but you have to pay back in installments 25% of the entire funding. So how much your degree cost you have to pay back that much of amount. And if you decide to work for a private company in Malaysia, you have to pay back 50%. Other than the cases stated above, let's say you decide to work in a company in UK or Singapore, don't think you can escape because you have to pay back 100% of the funding the JP has given you. So the general requirements to continue your funding from pre-U to degree is those who are taking your pre-U as STPM 3.5, STAM or Sidil Tinggi Agama Malaysia is Jayid Didan, correct me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Foundation or if you're doing foundation or matriculation, you have to get 3.75 CGPA. Your A levels, you have to get 13. Your OSMET, you have to get 85 marks, and your IB, you have to get 34 marks. So continuing on, so the process of application for GPA is not really that tedious. So what normally happens is after you receive your SPM results, normally around after 1 or 2 weeks, GPA will open the application on the website stated before that. There's now ecila v2.gov.my. So you will have to go to the link, be vigilant, keep on checking the link, especially after SPM results have come out, because anytime they can just decide to open application. And most of the application process is online, so you have to apply online and all that. And alongside with that is an online evaluation. So sorry. So you have to do an online evaluation, and this evaluation is not like other scholarships where they test your IQ level, they give you maths question, language question. It's more like a psychological question. They check on your career thinking, what career suits you, so that they try to make sure that when you're applying for a certain course, it's not too radical from what your psychological test shows, because that might show that you're actually not applying that course because you're interested in it, but more you're forced in it. And you wouldn't want that, because then a lot of students end up with mental illness, depression, and I wouldn't want to go into that in detail. So the second stage of application after you have done the online evaluation is the Student Assessment Center, or SAC. So normally, ideally without the COVID situation, it will be done physically. But looking at the situation now, and it's not going to be over very soon, it will be online. And for SAC, you will have to submit a video of yourself, body length. You have to show your whole body, and you have to speak for about 2 to 3 minutes on. You have to first introduce yourself in DM, tell about yourself briefly, your age, your school, when you set for your SPM, what was the results. And in English, you have to continue talking about what course will you want to take, why do you want to take that course, what can you contribute to the society after graduating from the degree, and where do you see yourself in the next 5 and 10 years. And after the SAC is the third stage, which is the interview session. Again, in normal situation, it will be done online, but because of this COVID situation, it will be done, normal situation will be done physically, but because the COVID situation will be done online. And during the online interview, it will be a group interview. So there'll be around 5 to 7 people in a group, and there'll be around 2 to 3 interviewers in the session. And make sure you have a comfortable place to sit, stable internet connection. Make sure you are dressed well, especially your upper part of your body, because that's what's going to be seen on camera. And during the interview, a couple of tips you should be mindful of. One is to be sure of what you are going to be studying, because it's just a personal, my personal experience from joining the interview session. Somebody was applying to study for the JKPJ program, and the person had stated that they wanted to study engineering in Japan, and the interviewer had asked, what if we didn't what if we didn't offer you in engineering in Japan, but we offered you social science in France? So the person actually answered that, oh, I don't mind it, because so I'll just change my degree from doing engineering to doing social science. Maybe I'll do law. So that shows that the person is not confident in what they wanted to study, because changing your desired degree from engineering to law is a very far and bold move, and that really shows that you are not aware of what you really want to study. So be sure what you want to study and be confident about it. If the JPA said they don't offer you or what, try to find alternatives. Maybe different countries offer it, or maybe you go for a local option. But do not simply give up and say, oh, if you don't give me now, man, I'll take whatever you offer. That shows that you are not interested in the scholarship, because if you're really interested in the scholarship, you will fight for what you want. Second thing is have general knowledge on the government and its operations. Since JP is a government organization, they'll ask questions based on the government. Personally, when I applied for the scholarship, I said I wanted to study accounting and finance. So they related it to the COVID situation, and they asked, let's say in the future you work for the Ministry of Finance, what can you do to help? If you are in the Ministry of Finance now during the COVID time, what can you do? So if you are aware of the current situation, if you're aware about what the government is doing, you will know what the initiatives have been given out by the government, and then you have to think how can you contribute and all that. So let's say we study medical, then they will link you to the Ministry of Health. If you're doing engineering, maybe Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, and so on and so forth. And the third thing is answer based on Malaysian norms. So I know there are very sensitive topics like the LGBTQ community, racial issues and all that. I wouldn't want to take any sides, but my advice is be sure to answer based on what Malaysian norms are, based on what has been taught in schools, because there are, for instances where in the interviews they have asked you whether you'll be involved in certain groups of people, certain activities, and despite your personal opinion, if you really want the GPA scholarship, do answer it based on what was taught to you through Malaysian norms, through pendidikan civic dan kewarganegaraan, pendidikan moral, pendidikan Islam, what you learn in school. Base your answers on that. And the fourth one is obviously be confident and do not show nervousness. Again, the interviewers are not any random interviewers. They are professionals in the civil working groups. So they're well versed in what they're doing, and therefore, when you are providing with the answers, provide professional answers, provide proper answers. Do not give normal answers. But at the same time, do not get scared when they question you back. Do not pause for a long time, because that shows that you have no idea what you're doing, and then they will assume that you are not worthy of the scholarship. Always try to find an answer for any questions asked by them. And so I end my sharing session today. Back to Simret.
All right, thank you, Meharvan. A lot of information to take note there, but I guess key takeaways. A very, very common misconception. Even I thought JP is a scholarship, but it's not apparently, right? And only available if you complete your entire degree in Malaysia. So I think, yes, definitely one of the interviews is always the part that everybody seems to dread, right? Thank you for the tips. Yes, know what you want to study and career, what you're going to do with your life, and stand by your decision. Be professional, but be confident, and know what to expect once you are given the scholarship, right? So there are some payback conditions there that we needed to note, and also apparently we need to show off a summer body. So that's a lot of information to take away. Hopefully everybody is still here with us. Hello, good evening. We have a lot of questions coming in. We are taking note of them, but just treat this as a panel. We are collecting them, and we will have a question and answer session towards the end. So I guess for now we can move on to the third speaker for tonight. And our third speaker is Sim Dong Hao, and Sim is a Shell scholarship from 2020's batch. He is currently studying at College Yayasan UEM. He is also 19 and a 2019 SPM leaver. So Sim, would you like to go on with your presentation?
Hi, definitely. Thank you, Simmer. Okay, thank you, everyone. So good evening. So right now I'm going to talk about Shell. Okay, so tonight I'm going to explain you through every single process of your application for Shell scholarship. Now, just a brief introduction. Okay, so Shell is one of the very, very hard scholarship to get. Okay, how hard is it? Because they have very, very limited spaces for your scholars. Basically, we only have 7 this year, and one of the previous batch we only have 6 out of like thousands of applicants. So it's very hard. It's very, very competitive. However, getting a Shell scholarship also means that you are getting a job in Shell. Okay, it's one of the most prestigious way to get into Shell. But again, we need to expect really high entry requirement and really high requirement to secure your scholarship. Now, Shell scholarship is a 2-tier scholarship, which basically consists of 2 parts. First one is your pre-university studies, which for now is for A-level. And for the second part is your degree studies. You'll basically be signing 2 contracts. So after you're getting your first scholarship, your A-level, you get into A-level, study A-level. The requirement for you to continue your contract, to sign another contract, is 4 A's minimum in A-level, and at least get into one of the top college, one of top universities in the world. And there's a list which actually change annually, but just to give you an insight of how the list will be, is basically Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, King's College, all these top college. If you fail to do so, they will basically terminate you, and they won't sign the second contract with you. That's how competitive and how stressful it is. But however, I believe that whoever got it will enjoy the process. Now let's go into the online application process. So next slide. Okay. So for now, we are going to talk about the stage 1 of your application process, which is the online application. Now this is the place where you submit all your personal information, including your academic achievements, your core curriculum achievements, your IC, your personal details, things like that. Okay. Do note that in this section, one of the very important aspects is your CV. Now, inside your inside your application form, there will be a section for extracurricular activities and document submission. Now, CV is located in an optional field, but do remember that whoever who really wants to get the Shell scholarship, please do a good CV and submit your CV. Basically, in the links provided after the whole session, there will be links to guide you how to prepare your CV. And I'm also going to talk about how important it is in the next two stage, which is the on-demand interview. That's where CV release play a role. Now, stage 2 I'm going to talk about right now is your online assessment. Now, online assessment we consist of 2 parts. Is what you will receive an email right after you complete your online application to ask you to do your online assessment. The online assessment consists of 2 parts. The first part is cognitive tests. For the cognitive test, we have 4 parts. We have 3 parts, namely verbal, numerical, and logic. Okay, so it's not hard generally for the cognitive test. It's just that you do need to remember that there's a time constraint, and it's hard to complete all the questions within the time given. So do remember that practice makes perfect. Okay, now there will be links to practice for except again shared in the end of this section. The more you practice, the faster you can complete all the questions, and then you basically gain greater advantage. And also, for the second part of this assessment, is a working style assessment. Now, it might seem like not important at all, as it is an untimed assessment. You can do it as long as you want. However, this working style assessment is basically like a career test or personality test, which you do before in your school. Now, study the working style report given. As in the working style report given, there we have 2 main aspects, mainly your advantage, okay, your strength, and your weakness. Now, for a final interview, they will actually target your weakness, and then they will customize the final interview based on your own weakness. For example, I will just share my own experience. So for me personally, I can't really perform I can't perform well in sense in high pressure condition. So what they do for my final interview is that they only announce the final interview less than 24 hours ago. I still remember that during that day, it's like an evening, 4 p.m., 5 p.m. time. And then they called me and informed me that I have an interview in 9 p.m. the next morning. So that's how they do it. So do remember that, study your report well, look through your weakness, and think about how you should improve from your weakness. So let's talk about this, the third stage, the on-demand interview and the final interview. Now, for these 2 interviews, the way to prepare for both of this is quite similar. Now, the difference between on-demand interview and the final interview is that for the on-demand interview, you'll be answering a series of pre-recorded competency-based questions. Now, what does it mean by competency-based question? It's basically question based on scenarios. Now, for this section, you're going to answer through your own experience. And for the final interview, it's a live interview by the Shell Scholarship Board of Trustees. Now, right now, I'm going to give you some tips to how to ace in these 2 interviews. So, first thing first is to tailor your answers or tailor your examples. Why? So basically, in your selection of courses, there will be like mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, electric power engineering, civil engineering, things like that. So when you answer the interviews, do take this into your concern. For example, for me personally, I applied for mechanical engineering, and I talk a few examples about robotics and link it to mechanical engineering to show the passion and understanding of me myself on my course that I applied for. But also do remember that don't go too much on that, okay? As the answers they want to see in an interview consists of a variety of examples. The one mistake that I did in my on-demand interview is that I focused too much on my robotics, okay? And I give only examples only from robotics for 5 consecutive questions. So this is the time for your CV play a role. Why? So after the on-demand interview, they actually called me and gave me some reviews before I go for my final interview. So in the phone call, they mentioned that do remember that to put a variety of examples. And luckily, I submit my CV, and I look through my CV, And then realize that I actually participate in a lot of activities rather than robotics alone. So that's why it's so important to prepare a good CV. The way I prepare a CV is basically based on the websites given from Shell. Look through it after this. And also, I use the template from this Microsoft Windows. Okay, Microsoft Windows. Use them, they are quite good. So also remember that, okay, right now I'm going to straight go into the more technical stuff, which is how to use the star and card technique. Now, basically, how I prepare for my interviews is that the first thing I do is look for examples questions online. And all of these questions will be scenario based. How do I say scenario based? For example, they will ask you things like, now state a scenario, okay, where you deal with conflicts with people from different background from you. Okay, how you deal with these conflicts, or how do you work with peoples with different races, okay, different background, different religions, things like that. And then the next thing to do is prepare your answer based on your own experience using the STAR method. What is STAR method? It stands for situation, task, action, and result. So what I do during that time is that I have a paper, okay, I list the scenario, for example, the scenario that I just said, okay, the situation, the task that I did, okay, the task that the task that I supposedly should do. For example, the question that I gave just now is how to deal with the conflict that you have with people that have different background from you. So the task that I should do is communicate with them, okay, to communicate and to come up with a solution. Action is the actual action, the actual response that you take during that time, okay? And the result, obviously, is the result. So the result is based on like how the outcome comes out, whether it's good or bad. Now, do remember that in your answers, okay, in your sample examples, okay, in the preparation, the result doesn't always need to be good, okay? It could be bad, it could be good, okay? Most importantly is to state that how you learn from the result, how you learn from that particular scenario, okay? Now, the next thing is practice and record your speech. Now, do remember that it's quite different from live interview, which you have eye contact with your interviewers. For on-demand interview, you are basically just answering pre-recorded videos. So you need to make sure that you are getting used to talking in front of a screen and talking straight towards the webcam. After that, you need to remember that quality matters more than quantity, okay? So review your speech using the CAR method, namely capability, achievement, and relationship. For capability here, it means that like intellectual thinking. How do you show your intellectual thinking in your examples? How do you show your creativity in your examples? How do you show your leadership in your examples? These are things that shall really look at. And also achievement. Now the achievement here doesn't mean that how many prizes you got, how many top ones you got. No, the achievement over here, we mostly talk about the confidence of you in your respective field. Okay, how confident you are, how passionate you are in your own course that you're applying for. And the last thing is relationship. Now for relationship, you need to know that like Shell is a multinational country, a multinational company, and then you need to work with people from different backgrounds. So relationship over here is they want to see how you deal with conflicts, how you deal with people with different backgrounds, how you solve issues, how you communicate. Okay. Now, the last thing you do is definitely ask for opinion from your friends and families. Okay. Record your speech, go in front, present to them, and ask for their opinions. Over here, I actually want to add in one more thing, is study about the company, as Chua has said just now, is that in the Shell website, there's a quote, okay, is that what stands out for a candidate is that those who've done their homework and those who have company awareness. Study about them, study the projects that they did, and include them in your presentation or speech. Okay, so let us go to the next slide. So, how important are my grades? Now, this is basically a lot of people asking for. If I didn't meet the entry requirement, what is the result, things like that. So, you need to remember that grades are very important actually in the first stage. only for the first stage. Shall minimum requirement is 8A or A plus for your SPM minimum. However, after you pass your first online application stage, where you start to receive your cubic test, grades doesn't really matter that much, okay? After the online application, more they put emphasis on, more they look is that your personality, okay? How mature is your thinking? How passionate you are about your own causes. So these are the things that you really want to show. Instead, since you need to know that most people who got their scholarships are actually people who have really good grades. But what separates you from these people who have really good grades is your own personality, your own extracurricular achievements. Okay, so I don't know what course I want to study. So what should I do? Now, basically, I faced this kind of problem before. So the first thing you need to do is decide the mainstream that you are going to study, whether it's a humanitarian or STEM course. Okay, for humanitarian, we basically have like lawyer, accounting, political science, history, things like that. And for the STEM field, you have engineering, medics, mathematics, typical biochemistry and physics. Okay, this is the tool that you want to ask yourself first. And how you really test yourself, I would recommend definitely do more career tests, more personality tests. Okay, ask for a few opinions, not too much, a few is enough. Okay, most importantly for me myself, I participate in a lot of competitions. I watch through YouTube videos, experience people who talked about their experience in their workplace, things like that. And then the next thing is to do is that from your respective field, either is it humanitarian or STEM, you look into deeper, whether in humanitarian you want to be a lawyer, politics, or historian, or archaeologist, things like that. In STEM field, you are looking to engineering, medics, mathematics, things like that, which mainstream you are going for. Okay, for me personally, I choose engineering. And after engineering, we look deeper into engineering. We have like petrochemical, we have chemical engineering, and we also have like the mechanical side, the mechatronics engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering. And we also have another side, which is mainly for software engineering, things like that. So again, how I solve this issue is basically I go through a lot of competitions and watch through a lot of forums. Now, I understand that in this kind of scenario, in this COVID situation, it's hardly possible for you guys to go through any competition, to participate in competitions. But a good way to solve this is actually look through a website called as Google Scholar, okay? Go to Google, type in Google Scholar, and type in maybe some keywords like mechanical engineering, civil engineering. Look through the articles inside. They will give you like really detailed insight about how the course structures is. And then, if possible, also look through the university content, okay? A lot of universities, like for example, Cambridge, okay? They do provide their syllabus, okay? Their university course structures. Look through them, study them, and know whether you really like it or not. Okay? So basically, I would strongly recommend you to have your a main direction before you apply for a scholarship, because that's very important and also help you to gain a lot of benefits when you applying for your scholarship. Okay, I think that's it. So there are a lot of more resources down the drive below. The drive will be also updated from time to time. So keep this drive, and all the best, guys. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sim. But yes, again, a lot of information, but also very interesting, right? I mean, yes, we finally got to the line where a CV is different from a resume, right? And even if it is optional, it is extremely important from this stage, right? Practicing the online assessments, practicing interviews. You know, we hear these tips a lot, but I think we don't really understand the importance of it, right? And knowing your company, not going in blind, knowing who you're speaking to and why they're asking you the questions you're asking. And plus, yes, Google Scholar, a very underutilized but powerful tool. So thank you for all of that. And again, yes, we have taken note of questions in the chat and we will come back to them in a while. Let's just get to our last scholar for the evening. We have Simret. So Simret, yes, as you can see, is a PETRONAS scholar. And he is a geoscientist who is focused on geophysics. He's been working with PETRONAS since 2011. And his career, he began offshore with well site geologists, and he was then attached with PETRONAS in Myanmar and Brunei. He's, yes, been serving in multinational countries. He served as an exploration geologist. So he's currently a senior geoscientist focused on the Sarawak exploration based in KLCC. And he's a professional technologist with the Board of Technology in Malaysia. So Penn State is his alma mater, Penn State University in United States of America. Woo-hoo! And that is where Simret's journey began when he first became a PETRONAS scholar. So floor is yours, Simret.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me. Today I think I will spend a quick 10 minutes, maybe 15, to share with you my experience. I think my perspective will be different from the other three. I think Chua, Sim, and Meharvan, they are all fresh scholars. They're all in the batch of 2019. I completed my SPM in 2004. So when it comes to the application process, mine may not be as refreshed. However, I assure you that I did some research, and I will share with you the latest application process. However, I will spend most of my time explaining and sharing with you my journey rather than just the process. Once you get the scholarship, what did I go through, and how am I currently part of PETRONAS, not just as a student, but as an employee right now. Next. All right, so PETRONAS is one of the oldest scholarships in Malaysia. We've been giving scholarships all the way from 1975. And earlier, I think Sim mentioned there are 7 scholarships for Shell. However, PETRONAS is a lot more. There are a lot more people that apply, and there's a lot of allocations for scholarships. I remember my batch in 2005. We had about 80 students that traveled overseas, all across the States, UK, Australia, New Zealand. But we also had, I think, about 200-300 people who got the scholarship to study locally in different colleges around Malaysia. Yeah, so just to share, on the right, the top right, these are the programs that are available. However, this is another tip. If you're applying for PETRONAS, do note what their core business is, right? Their main business is oil and gas. So if you're applying for psychology with PETRONAS scholarship, then there's probably one spot for you, right? So the number of people competing for that one spot is harder to get. So if you're applying for PETRONAS scholarship, I would recommend going for the petroleum engineering, mechanical engineering, petroleum geoscience, things like that. Geology, geophysics, computer science. Those are what's the bigger numbers that are available for scholarships. For the interview, there are 2 parts. When you get in, it's supposed to be a young star day, supposed to be a one whole day thing. You go in the morning, and then there'll be one round of almost like a thinking skill assessment. So it's 1 hour. It's more of an objective type questionnaire, where you will be graded, and right away you will know your results, and then you will go into the second stage. So I think last year there were about 400 people that got through to the first round, and then from the first round, I think they streamlined only about 200 to the second round. And in the second round, it's a 1 hour interview with a group of 5 to 6 people. You've got one chance to introduce yourself, and then there will be a problem statement that you have to talk about. So you have a couple of minutes to talk about the problem statement. And then towards the end of the interview, then they open for a discussion. That will be about half an hour. So you're supposed to discuss between 4 or 5 people. And the idea is they want to see what kind of leader you are. How do you communicate with different people? How do you address conflicts? How do you moderate the session? So being the person that speaks all the time, you may not get the scholarship. Or being the person that's quiet the whole time, you may not get the scholarship. It's more of trying to figure out the balance, trying to be the guy that is willing to give an opinion and disagree with somebody else and pass the baton to somebody else to find out their opinion, you know, things like that. So more of a trying to get some sort of a balance. There are some tips that I wanted to share. Number one, do your research about the company, the shared values, the mission, the vision, what is our strategic direction. So that is number one. Number two, when you go there, don't go with the normal answers, the usual, you know, what you write, BM and English essays. No, try to be more creative, but keep it realistic. This is where you showcase yourself. Try to be a bit more argumentative, but respectful. You know, agree and disagree. And lastly, have confidence with yourself. Just because, you know, don't feel timid with your abilities. Don't feel like, oh, the other guys in the room are debaters and I'm not, you know, things like that. You don't have to worry about that. Have confidence with your strengths. Okay, next. All right, so I prepared this last night thinking of the bigger picture, not just the PETRONAS scholarship. And this will go a long way. You will use it for the PETRONAS scholarship, or you will use it for all interview processes. But as you start working, you will really need this as well. So this is called the art of storytelling. You need to figure out this art, because when you go for your interview, you're basically telling them a story about yourself. And you've got to at least manage it properly. So the first box on the top left is what are your strengths, right? Know what are your strengths, write it down. Spend the next 1-2 weeks figuring this thing out. What are your weaknesses? It's always nice to state out your weaknesses, so they understand that this person is not all talk about strengths, not all about, oh, his greatness. This person is also willing to understand his weaknesses and figure out what are you going to do to improve on those weaknesses. So that's those two things that you need to do. And then the next question would be, why PETRONAS? Or if you're going for a JPA scholarship or TNB scholarship, why JPA, why TNB, right? So you have to figure out what do they offer, what do the alumni, what as an alumni, what do you mean? What are the achievements of previous scholars who are current leaders in Malaysia or in the world, and you know, it's network, it's reach. Why do you want to be a part of PETRONAS? So one of the answers was, PETRONAS has a really huge rooted network across not just the country but around the world. So as a PETRONAS scholar, you're able to network with all these global leaders, right? So that allows you to develop not only yourself but also implement all these developments across your community. So these are the kind of things that you can try to explain. And then speak about your short-term impact. What do you plan on doing in the next 5 years? Try to make it measurable. Try to say that I would like to impact XXX. Who you impacting, by how you want to impact the people or the community, right? So try to be more measurable for your short-term impact. And then your long-term goals should include a bit more ideological stuff, but try to still remain realistic and think about it in like 10 years term, right? 10 years, 15, where do I see myself? One way to go about it is pick a major problem that we have currently. For example, the energy problem, the oil and gas problem, the carbon emission problem that we have currently. And perhaps I would like to see myself as a leading ambassador in trying to solve the energy problem and to figure out the gap between this energy transition. So that is the kind of thing that you can explain in your long-term goal. Yeah, so write these things down in the next week or so before you get your results and before you do your scholarships, so you understand your awareness of who you really are. And then also figure out some stories. Ask yourself these questions. What are some of the methods that you would use to solve a particular conflict? You can talk about your parents, conflict between your parents, conflict between friends, conflict between a teacher and a student, things like that. You can ask yourself again this other question: how are you able to influence others? What can you do to influence others? Share stories about how you've influenced others. And then the third, I think this was touched by all the scholars, your leadership style. Different people have different styles. So explain a story that shows your leadership skills. Yeah. So that's the art of storytelling. Next. Okay, so this was my journey. This is what I got, what I went through in the last, I would say, almost 15 years lah. So I got my scholarship in 2005. When I got the scholarship, I had to, my interview process was a bit longer. We had an edu camp. It was a 3-day program. Now it's just a youngster day. So it's a 1-day thing. But it's very similar. And in that program, we were able to, at least bond with more people, because we stayed 2 nights at UTP. And then once I was accepted for the scholarship to do geosciences in the US, I was sent to College Marapanting to do my IB. And I did that for 2 years. And after that, I left for the States. So in 2007, I went to study in Pennsylvania State University in the US. And it was the top 3 geology schools in the world. So that was the reason I picked the university. So as you can see the picture, my class on field study, that's the picture of my class. Quite a small class. There was about 20 odd people in the class. And we used to have a lot of field trips, because geology requires a lot of going out in the field and having all those amazing experiences. As you can see down below, geology and geophysics, there's one picture of me in the snow trying to figure out the depth of that well. There's another picture of me in the wilderness trying to map out the different formations. So sometimes picking your degrees is it's important to understand what your experience in the university is going to be like. If you want to pick something engineering related, make sure you go to university, not just study, but focus on also building networks and joining different curriculums, so that allows you to have a more robust education. So that's one picture of us, the Malaysian family at Penn State. The entire university is as big as Petaling Jaya. It's a huge university. We've got about 50,000 people, students, 50,000 students, but the entire college itself, with all the shops, the retail spaces, and all the workers and all that, we've got at least about 300,000 people living in that campus. Out of that number, we had about 50 Malaysian students across doing different various things. So that was a really nice time studying abroad. And then in 2011, I began my journey with PETRONAS. And as a geoscientist, I worked with them offshore for 4 years. I went to different rigs in the middle of the ocean for 2-3 weeks at a time. And then I was sent to Myanmar and Brunei, 2 different occasions. In Brunei, I spent about 2 years building the office in Brunei, the Carigali office in Brunei. And currently I'm with the Sarawak Ventures. I work trying to explore for oil and gas in the shallow waters of Sarawak. So that's my story. And I hope you guys go ahead and ask me any questions regarding the entire journey, not just the application process, and I can help you out with that. Next. And another point I wanted to make is that it's 2 different things between the PETRONAS scholarship and the Yayasan UTP scholarship. They are 2 different things. So you've got to, don't think that if you have applied for the PETRONAS scholarship, you would get the Yayasan UTP. You have to apply separately for the Yayasan UTP scholarship. The details are in the website. You can look it up. but this would be to study in UTP. You would be able to get a full scholarship to study the entire degree in UTP with allowances. So just to keep note on these two differences. Yeah. All right, next. Okay, that's my time. Simmer, I pass it back to you.
All right, thanks, Simret. Okay, yeah, we realize we're at 10 o'clock, but we just want to address everybody's questions and also kind of wrap up this whole session and kind of do a debrief, right? So as we heard from Simret, know your company. Again and again, we keep saying this, right? Know that PETRONAS is oil and gas. So know what kind of how far a radius is the degree you're looking at from the company you're applying it from. Soft skills, again, this is something we heard throughout all our scholars, is a hugely important thing to show during the interviews how you have used those soft skills with real examples. And BIMBING is looking to have further sessions on these as well as resume and CV workshops. So do look out for those coming soon. And of course, interviews are your opportunity to shine. Don't be a yes man. Interviewers are not looking to, get the same information from your CV and resumes out of your mouth. They're looking to get to know you as a person, your character, your story. And as Simret so kindly shared, the art of telling your story is so powerful. You can really leave an impression. So thank you for that, Simret. And I think we do have quite a lot of questions. Chua, thank you so much for addressing the questions in the chat directly. If you would allow me, then I guess we can jump straight to the questions that were addressed to Meharvan, Simret, and also Sim. So maybe we can pick some that are quite pertinent, right? I think one of the more pertinent questions that is a common theme across everybody. If you do not achieve the required academic results, right? You don't meet the academic requirements. Should you still apply for a scholarship? Is there no chance for you to get it at all? Open to the floor. Any one of our 4 scholars, if you have anything to say.
Hi guys, I would really want to start at this. So now, doesn't meeting the entry requirement is actually, I would say you have a very, very low chance. Still apply for it, you might gain a lot of experience from the process. However, really sadly, a sad truth is that the entry requirement is actually the base requirement. You can see actually a lot of the best scholars, okay, who gain a scholarship, actually exceeded the entry requirement, okay, the best requirement. However, I would say if you didn't meet it, still apply for it, okay? You will get a lot through the experience of the online application process.
All right, thanks for taking that, Sim. So I guess
I would like to just add on that. Some companies, I mean, now with the pandemic and all that, there are scholarships that are focused on how good you are as a leader. And sometimes even if you miss out on your grades by 1A or 2As, some companies might just consider you. So just don't stop yourself from applying. Just apply.
All right, thanks, Simret. Okay, I think the next question, there was one quite specific to the JPA scholarship. If you do not achieve the required academic results for pre-U, do you have to pay the cost of the pre-U back? Meharvan, I think it was specifically directed at you.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, unfortunately, if you don't get your pre-U requirements, GPA can't sponsor you for degree, and that means you have to pay back your pre-U amount. How much you spend on pre-U, you have to pay back, including your accommodation and your monthly allowance. However, if you actually go past degree, then all of your pre-U expenses will be waived off, and your debt and your funding count will start from when you start your first day degree. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I guess another kind of common question, and I think this one is more of a mixed question from sources, right? Researching about your company other than the website, right, of TNB, of Shell, of PETRONAS, where else can you find the information you need to be able to prepare, to do your homework before you go in for interviews? Maybe Chua or anybody, you can share the sources you had used.
Yeah, I think it's current in the current age. You've got YouTube to really follow through with the kind of interview tips. You've got stuff on Google. You can Google stuff out and blogs of people who's gone through the scholarship. Will definitely help you with that. And I think the most important one is sharing from previous scholars. Speaking to scholars will give you some insights that maybe YouTubes and articles may not.
Mm. All right, okay. And I guess we can take some questions from the screen as well. Let's have a bit of a mix, right? Or anybody on the floor would like to ask a question?
Hi guys. So I mean, I just add out on this. Okay. So for the articles places, okay, do look through base initiative. Okay, base initiative is basically a part that Chua participate also. They actually compile a lot of articles about recent years scholars online application process. Do look through them. They are one of the most useful resources right now. Remember, before apply for scholarship, any of them, look through base initiative. Okay, you won't go through the wrong place in base initiative.
All right. Okay. Thanks for that, Sim. All right. Okay, let's take some questions from the screen, right? Careers in ICT or IT versus traditional careers. Any takers for challenges ahead, or should we go for traditional careers? So I think this question is basically challenging the norms, right? We're looking at the traditional accountant, economist, those kind of careers, or the more digital careers that we find new jobs every day, right?
Yes, I think I'll be answering this question.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to careers in ICT, by the way, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can. Oh, now we lost you, Chua.
Hello,
Okay,
can
yes,
you
now you're back.
hear me?
And we lost you again. No worries. Okay, maybe we can.
I can address that in the meantime. I think it's important for us to understand that we're moving towards this whole industrial 4.0 is here. And with that, I was reading somewhere almost 60% of jobs today will be non-existent in the future by 2050. 60% of the types of jobs, right? And this is driven by artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, things like that. So I would suggest when you're looking for careers, figure out a career that helps you with this new perspective, new job scopes. I was reading somewhere bankers, lawyers, the numbers will reduce. And those that will remain are people who have got good EQ, not just IQ, but good EQ, the ability to have relationships, communication skills, self-awareness, and stuff like that. So there is two things to this. Look at a career that is for the future, and at the same time build your interpersonal skills to help you stand out. If Chua is here, he can add on to that.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with what Simret said just now, but I think the most important thing is your passion. You have to know where your passion lies, which field are you most passionate about, whether it's humanitarian or STEM-based subject. So before you choose your career or before you go for any degrees, before you continue your tertiary education, it's always good to explore your interests and understand more about yourself. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Chua. Oh, are you still online? Okay. Yep. Thanks for that. And I guess the other two questions here that are quite, I guess we can take maybe two more. We still have about 5 minutes. Sometimes we're still confused about what course we want to study, what we want to do as a career, because we don't know what we're really good at. Or could we give some advice because they don't want to regret the choices they make today? Any of our speakers would like to take this one?
Okay, I think I'll take this question. So actually there are a lot of things you can do. One is you can talk to your school counselors. They are quite trained in this. You can talk to them. They can provide you with solutions. You can also talk with outside counselors, private counselors, and also do check out online career tests where you can actually test where is your career direction, what career suits you best. It's somewhat like a psychology test. There are a lot online, they are free. And don't do one or two, do at least 7 to 10 of them so that you actually get a consistent result and you can actually see what career suits you best. And obviously consult your parents, consult consult friends that actually care. Don't just simply consult any friend. Make sure your friend also knows about the industry. You can consult professionals. Let's say if you want to do medicine, talk to doctors. If you want to do engineering, talk to engineers. And obviously attend career fairs. There are a lot of career fairs actually online. And yeah, like that. Through that you can get a rough idea which course suits you best. Which course suits you best. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Meharvan. So I guess we can have room for last two questions. One for Sim and last one for Simret. Sim, there was a question for yourself. Could you share a number of your co-curricular activities? You mentioned you took part in a lot of competitions. Some of the positions, roles you had at school that you felt like could have helped you. Having a populated CV or resume, but also with having the experience to talk about at your interview.
So basically the examples that I added in some of my co-curricular activities is that first thing first, I participate in a robotic club actively. I'm a international Chinese calligraphy winner. I participate in SOCMA for shooting sports. I hold the vice president position for my Chinese club in my school. I'm basically also the photographer for the magazine club, things like that. Okay. Now, to be honest, the amounts of roles, okay, you need to limit it. Okay. Honestly, no matter how much role you have, limit it to like around 3, 2, or 4. That's enough. Okay, seriously. Why would I say so? Because you want to make the answers consistent and keep relating them back to the CAR, whether it does it show capability, achievement, or relationship. This is the thing that matters the most. If you put in things like, okay, for example, what things that, okay, for example, like I participate in concerts, okay, concerts, performance. Now, to be honest, performance, first thing first, is like singing, dancing. It doesn't relate to the company's requirements, okay? It doesn't really relate to engineering. And since it's a solo performance, it also doesn't relate to your relationship. And then the only things that it relates to your achievement, which is your passion, your confidence. But look at this example, okay? Dancing, performance, solo performance. It only fits one of them. Thus, you need to know that this kind of example is not that good, so you should eliminate it, okay? So pick the best one, although you have a lot. That's it.
All right, thank you, Sim. Okay, last question for the night, and we'll wrap up. Simret, this one is specifically directed for you.
Hello.
Hi, Javier. Yes.
Is it possible for me to ask a question through the call?
Yes, go ahead, all of us.
All right. I have a question for the KYUEM scholars. I'm a SPM 2020 leaver, and I'm interested in joining College Yayasan for my pre-U studies. Can the KYUM scholars tell me a little bit more about the school? How is the experience in the school and how they're finding it in their new school?
Okay, basically, I think I will take this. So
I
we
think
know
I'll
that.
take this question.
I'll go.
Oh, okay. Go on, Singh.
Okay, I'll take this question. So studying in KUM is basically you study A level first thing first. You study A level over here. You only study A level over here also. You don't really study like SLT or OSMAT, things like that. That you study actually in some way. Like I know in some way you have lots of varieties. In KYUM, you only study for A level. The learning condition of which the learning environment over here is actually very conductive. It's very effective. I would say you are surrounded by a lot of best students around in Malaysia. You have scholars all around Malaysia. You have JPS. You have Simdarbis. You have Yayasan Khazana. You have a very good environment. Okay, you have this place is so intellectually vibrant. Okay, that you can learn a lot of things over here. However, do remember that this place rely a lot on self-study. Okay, you need to remember that you need to plan your time. You need to have good time management since a lot of time right now we are having online classes. Plan your time wise and self-study a lot. Be prepared for this. Thank you.
Javier, hope he answered your question.
Yes, that was a very good answer. And all the best in your upcoming AS examinations.
All right. So maybe we can take that last question for Simret. In your opinion, with the current movement against the use of natural gases and petroleum in the automotive industry, what do you think will PETRONAS will do, and how will they approach this change?
Yeah, I think that is the number one question that we've been trying to address in the last couple of years. The main thing here is that we are shifting from a dirty, oil-driven industry to now a cleaner, gas-driven industry. So I'm an explorationist, and it's very clear in the next 5 years, the strategy we are going to explore for are mainly going to be gases. When we're drilling for oil and gas, we will almost know whether this area is oil prone or gas prone. So we would like to get into countries and blocks where we drill for gas, just because of this demand, and also to help with the whole this whole energy transition and trying to get things more cleaner. With that being said, we also have established a new department in the last 2 years. It's called New Energy. And when you apply for your PETRONAS scholarship, think about this new energy in mind, because they are now taking on providing more spots for the scholarships for this department. And the New Energy department is where you have all the renewables, right? We have recently acquired a huge company in India doing solar power. We are trying to acquire a hydro geothermal company in Canada. So there are initiatives out there that PETRONAS is trying to do to move into the renewables as well. So instead of being an oil and gas industry, it's going to move towards an energy industry. I hope that explains things, Jabba. On top of that, I think Zen asked a question as well on the interview. As for the second round, would the officers be observing the whole process? This is related to PETRONAS interview. There are 2 rounds, first round and second round. Yes, I know of stories of the interviewers themselves were the ones serving the food. And when they were serving the food, they would see, they would keep an eye on the participants and have a look out at the friendly ones or the quiet ones, or the so that they understand before even having the interview who's who, right? So just keep a lookout for that. Hope I've answered those questions.
All right, thank you so much to all our scholars. As you guys can see, we have put up our scholars' contact details on screen. If you'd like, take a screenshot. We will try and send this to you through your emails as well if you've signed up. And I think that concludes our talk for today. Thank you so much for joining us. And also
Simret, yeah, before we end,
yep.
yeah, I also want to add that before that, there are also other scholarships that you can find out about. If you have registered, we'll send you this link. There are a couple of links here where you can get information of other scholarships, as well as we'll be sending all these links also through the email. So just check out your email after this session. Maybe by today or tomorrow, you will receive this email, and you can check out more about these scholarships through the email links. And also, before your leave, please do answer our feedback form. The QR code is here. And as well as we have opened a post SPM series updates WhatsApp group. So if you find that you're not really active on email and you would like to receive updates through WhatsApp group, just scan the QR code and be updating to you about the latest post SPM series and the updates and notifications. Yeah.
Thanks, Meharvan. Yes, and on that note, continuing on that, we are aware that today's Scholars Talk was very STEM centered, very science technology centered, and career directions and scholarships based on that. But hopefully, we will keep putting you in touch with more scholars, and hopefully also from a wider range of industries. After all, sciences may feed our minds and our stomachs, but arts and humanities feed our soul. With that said, yes, Lee, would you like to ask or say something? No? Okay, all right. With
I've got one last thing. Meharvan, if you could go one slide back. Yeah, this one. For all of you out there, this is a new social entrepreneurship opportunity for you to come and help out with the education side of things, to provide guidance to people from all ages. So BIMBING is new, and BIMBING would like to recruit whoever is interested. So these are the people that we require: leaders, mentors, even speakers, influencers, volunteers. Even if you want to volunteer just for one session, send us a message: coordinator, liaison officer, social media manager, and information collector. And this is not just an avenue for you to help out, but it's also an avenue for you to learn. It allows you to have some sort of a network opportunity. You get to meet all the scholars as part of the BIMBING team. You get to also put this in your CV, in your resume, talk about it in your interview, that you are BIMBING team and how you've helped not just in your school. After your SPM, you took a step towards joining external organization like BIMBING to help spread and guide education. So if anyone is interested, let us know. Hit us up on IG and the emails. Thank you.
Thanks, Simret. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I think that does wrap up our session in its entirety.